Hey everybody, it's Ghost with Blades and Blasters here with another character creation tutorial for Demon Gate. This is an RPG that was actually created by a current player and GM for Blades and Blasters by the name of Rogue. You may have seen some of his Chaos 6010 AD um, games, campaign. This is Demon Gate. This is one of his original products as well, something he made from the ground up, of course, himself and many others. Do check it out. It appears to be a great system. I am looking forward to playing it. Will be played here within the next week as a one-shot, I believe, and then later on as a full-on campaign. So I'm going to go ahead and run through character generation. If this is something you're interested in playing, just kind of give you an idea of how it works. And I do apologize if the music gets loud at any point. We'll work to go ahead and sort that out in post-editing. So Demon Gate, character generation. Can be a pretty intimidating affair at first, but again, it just takes a little bit of practice, as with any character creation, to get used to it. So for character creation, it kind of gives you a bit of a background of how Demon Gate works. It is, I wouldn't necessarily call it a post-apocalyptic fantasy world, but it has definitely some apocalyptic elements. There's a lot that has happened in the story that has heavily damaged the world. It being ravaged by demons, battles between gods and demons, greater beings. It is a very dangerous and destitute setting, not without its hope in certain cases, but it is very dark and grim. So you should try to make a character fitting to that, but there are many options to choose from. So, steps to creating the characters. There's some basic steps here as is laid out. Choosing your character race. So race is very important, especially for kind of background and RP purposes. So we'll take a look. We got several different races here. The Bog Kroll, with subrace of trolls. These are basically kind of big goblinoid types. They're similar to trolls and ogres and kind of fit that niche. They are they're heavily persecuted for being demon-like and looking very dangerous. I mean, look at them there. They don't look exactly like your average everyday human. So they're persecuted pretty heavily, it appears. But they're extremely powerful. Not altogether very smart, but extremely powerful and resilient races. You've got your Eldrin. These are kind of the analog to elves. Of course, they have some of the traditional kind of analogs you would expect to the elvish, very beautiful types. Of course, they have their sub-races that are different, half-elves or Shedulin, which are essentially shadow elves, and kind of get a sense of how they look here. They are very alien-looking, but of course there's that strange beauty that is apparent to them. And they are very heavily based in the nature in most cases. You get your Kuthalan. These are interesting. These are kind of like bug people, I believe, for the most part. They have hives, and the females are in power, as you might expect from like maybe certain factions, creatures of bugs, like ants, for example. Queens are very powerful in their society, and a lot of their system revolves around power. Being strong and having specific uses within society. Those who displease the queen, well, you're kind of fucked. You're gonna get out. You're gonna get out of the hive. And I mean, take a look at these guys. These guys are wild. So they have carapace and chitin, chitin, and they're very interesting. Not really sure what kind of analog you'd put them as, but they are a very interesting faction. You got your Mentep. These are kind of catfolk type people, very dexterous, and have certain kind of prejudices against them as well, where they're considered to be lazy or secretive and things like that, and untrustworthy. But they are, of course, very agile and quick. Though they can be a bit prone to being easily persuaded and tempted by things. You got your Mongri, these are the dwarfs of the setting. mountain-dwelling race, very smart, heavy drinkers, very powerful craftsmen. Obviously, they have different factions as well. You've got your pale dwarfs and things like that. You got your Nephilim. Nephilim are a bit strange. They were kind of, I wouldn't call them angels per se, but they were sent to fight the Dark Lords and the demons during that great war that we talked about. If you have any questions about lore, I'm sure Rogue could assist more on it. I'm still learning myself. But these are basically the joining of two races of angel and human. This is what Nephilim are. They're very powerful, but also, again, they are hunted by certain factions. Orcs almost need no explanation. They are very warlike and strength type, and might makes right type of people. Sharfeen, you got your lizard kin. These are very kind of they have that lizard brain aspect where they don't perceive emotion very well or humor, but they're very honorable people for the most part. Then they've got their subrace, which is the Molfine, which are the exact opposite. They are slavers and they ambush tradesmen and things like that, whereas the Sharfeen live in the bogs and swamps of the land, and they live underwater, which is pretty wild. You got your Skog, these are beastmen. They have a variety of different looks to them. They're very difficult. They live typically outside, and they're basically living very harshly, and they're a race of warriors, and they are not without their kind of codes and things like that, but the more civilized folk mistreat them for obvious reasons. Tarkansas, your rat men. Tradesmen, they're assassins, hang out in the shadows. They're kind of a nesting type faction. They kind of stick to their own. But they are very good tradesmen and scouts. Terrans, these are humans. I'm not going to go too much into them. They are what they are. And then Vitagi are mutants, which are basically mutated humans or races that have been mutated. And these are just... It's believed that they are tainted in some way for the most part, so they're persecuted pretty heavily as well. So it's not the most accepting setting when it comes to how each other... I mean, you work with who you work with, but there are a lot of prejudices involved, just like we do have in real life. So you pick your race. I'm going to go with Terran, just to keep things simple. So you see here Terrans. All different races have their own abilities and characteristics. Humans, they look bog standard, but they're bog standard in a good way. Begin the game with one additional skill slot, so that's very powerful, and I'll explain why later. So is Soulfire. Again, that's additional, just more soul points. These are also very important. And then you see, obviously, certain roles, lifespan, damage for unarmed, things like that. So we're going to plug in certain facets of this. Go ahead and keep things simple, so I'm not going to bother with height, weight, or anything like that. But I will put in soul points 12. So, we've got our Terran, that's what we're going to go with, and we've got our intuition. I'm going to go ahead and put that in my sheet here, so I remember it later. So now, we're going to go ahead and go back to character creation. The next thing you do is choose a character class. There are a lot of character classes. I'm not going to go through all of them. I'm going to pick something simple, but they're very unique in their own ways. They all have their niches, and they're very cool. You've got your wizards, but there are many different parts of it. You've got demon hunters, pirates, priests. There's a lot of cool stuff here, and I'm going to turn this music down. Better. Right, okay. So... character class, profession. Character classes, I'm going to go with a warrior. Warriors are very straightforward, very easy to kind of mold to what you need them to do. So you get all these combat skills. So I'm going to put those in. I got Brawler, which gives me +2 to hit, which is good. I've got weapon proficiency with throwing. If you don't have weapon proficiencies, you take penalties to your attack rolls. So weapon proficiencies are good. Projectiles, also good. Also, all races, all classes have proficiency with melee training. And then you get to choose one weapon specialization. Because we start off with a stone axe, I will go with the stone axe. I'll go with the axe specialization. Yes. So it's a specialization. Go ahead and get rid of that 0. And then axe specialization, +1 to hit. That gives us a nice little bonus starting out if we were to use the character. And then skill slots are 4. We will come back to that later. We're going to do the other character stuff first. So, we're on distribute 100 points to attributes. Go no higher than 18, no lower than 3, or add 46 but drop the lowest number. Okay, so we're going to do the distribute method, just because I have certain ways I want to go about it. So we're going to put all these to 0, so that we're starting from square one. So for strength, I want a strong warrior type. We're going to go 18 off the rip here. So that's 18. Dex, same thing. I want strong, fast. Let's go big time. 18, 36, 54. I want a guy who's tough. 72. So that leaves me with... what then? 72 leaves me with 28 left to distribute. I don't mind being kind of dumb. So honestly, we're going to do this. 18, 36, 54, 72, 90, which means we are dumb and not very talkative, but we're very strong at what we need to do. So this would be probably what I would go for if I was trying to go hard with the warrior. We'll say he's a big kind of Conan type. Probably barbarian would have been better for Conan. We'll say he's a big, strong warrior type, and strong, fast, resilient, can see very well. It makes me good with the bow as well because it has impact, and then has the willpower to really fight through. But he's not very bright, and he's not very fun to be around. It's kind of a jerk, maybe. Okay, so we've got that up there. Then you modify attributes based on your racial modifier. So I don't believe Terrans get any. Nope, no attribute modification, so no changes there. And then you fill in attribute mods and stats. So this is kind of where your stats come into play for what that number is we assign to the stats. So let's look at is it dice table? Yes. So dice. So here's the important thing to fill in. So here's your attribute, rank or skill level, and dice. So to kind of understand how this works, we're only looking at attributes right now to fill in the attributes. So for an attribute of 18 to 19, we have a basic kind of rank or skill level of 7 with anything tied to that attribute. If we just roll attribute only and have no other skills for it, so for that you're going to roll D8 plus D6. And the cool thing about Demon Gate is the continuity system. Where unless otherwise stated, if you've got these things like a D8 plus a D6, they are exploding dice. If you roll an 8 on a D8, it explodes, and you get to roll another D8. So continuity, if you get really lucky, you can blow some rolls away and just get crazy good rolls on stuff. So we have D8 plus D6 and a lot of stats. So I'm going to go ahead and change that here, D8 plus D6. And just to kind of give you an idea how that would work, so I'm going to roll my strength just straight up. Roll a 7. That's not showing me what I need it to. Oh, I think it's going off of my strength roll for... it shouldn't be. Huh. I would show you, but I think it's rolling off my guy who's set for the campaign. That's okay. So... I'll roll off this guy, so I'll roll off my hunter, and then we'll do, something like, like dex. So I have, my dex for the hunter is a D8 plus a D6, which I don't know if that's right either. No, it is. I'm right. I'm not crazy. You're crazy. Okay, D8 plus D6. So yeah, so you see, like, I'm gonna roll a couple times until I get a explosion. Here we go. So, I have a D8 plus D6. My D8 roll is a 5. My D6 rolled up. Rolled a 6 on a 6. Got to roll another D6. So it explodes off the die that it's tied to. So that's one. That's a cool thing with the system. I do like the continuous system because it gives you the opportunity, even as a character who like has poor stats. Like I'll do my intelligence real quickly. So I have a stat of 5 in an attribute of 5. So I have a basic ranker skill of equivalent of 2. I'm rolling a D4, which is just horrendous because I'm not very smart. The D4, but if I'm rolling, it could explode at some point. I think it's wrong with my hunter again, unfortunately. Shameful. Anyway, though, if so, for example, this guy could be like trying to work something out in his head, and of course he's not very bright. But if he rolls 4 and just continues to hit 4 on success, I mean, he could easily roll up to a very high amount of successes and just have like an epiphany of, I really understand, woodworking or something. I don't know, just to give an example. So that's what I like about the continuity system, is that it does give you the opportunity to, work out of, even if you're terrible at something, it gives you the opportunity to kind of succeed at it still. Or fail miserably. I mean, it could be one. It could be one or the other. But I'm gonna go ahead and update these so that it's kind of in line. So D8 plus D6. So this is my guy coming against a D4 there, and of course a D4 here. Lower D4, please, because my skill is terrible for those. But who cares? I'm a barbarian. I'm a big fighter. My goal isn't to be smart or nice. I'm just here to beat stuff up. So that is how all that's up. And we will refer to this shortly later. But I also want to update other things. So depending on what your attribute is, it affects other mechanical portions. So like having a strength of 18, we do 2 bonus damage on melee attacks. I think effective rank is 7. For all these, and then 2 for the other ones. So for this, if you look at it, I think weight allowance also has to do with the weapons you can wield as well. Like a heavy or 2 light weapons, things like that. So on an 18, we get a +2 to damage, which is great because that makes our bone axe hit harder. And then we have H2L, I believe, so heavy and 2 light. Yes. And then dexterity, 18, also gives us +1 to movement and defensive. And I believe initiative as well, 4, because initiative is based off your movement, if I remember correctly. So we're faster, we're more defensive. 18 for body gives us more hit points. Hit points, very, very important in this system. Because continuity applies to damage as well, and you can literally get smashed to pieces by nothing. So it's a very brutal system. Toughness 1 plus 4 hit points and 16 body save, which is good. And I think chi is, I don't know if chi applies, from not gonna bother too much, but so 18 perception increases our range and range damage. So not only are we capable in close combat, we're very good with our bow as well. And then now we go to the other stats. These are the physical attributes. We're going to go to the mental now. Willpower of 18 gives us +4 mana. Not a huge deal for us, but also fortitude and mental defense modifier. Fortitude, I believe, it helps negate some of our issues with if we take mental damage. And then charisma of 5 does nothing for us. Intelligence of 5 means it is D4 years to learn spells. We have 1 other fluent language other than our base. D4 years. Fluent language of Cawthon, which is I believe that's the standard language, and then we'll pick something else maybe later. So let's see how we're running on time. That's not too bad. So character creation. Alright, so you fill in your skills according to the character class template. So for warriors, the reason I picked warriors, is because they're pretty straightforward. You get all your weapon stuff, but then whatever you're good at, you just get to pick it. And we also, because we're Terran, we get another skill. So we basically have 5 skill slots to play with, which means we can get 5 skills, which is very nice. So I believe, let me go ahead and take a look here, just to confirm it. Okay. Skills according to character class, so you just record them. Okay, so I can get that updated. Alright, so we'll go ahead and take a look at skills now. So there's a lot of skills, so I'm just going to go over the ones I'm going to pick. But there are a lot of great skills. So quick skills table, these are all the ones we get to pick from. Obviously, we can go into combat skills as well. I can over-specialize. I can, get more. I can spend 2 slots to get a more... or even more than that, I can spend all my slots if I really wanted to just insanely go with axes, but I'd be gimping myself because I'd be good at nothing else. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to spread some love, and consider what I'm good at. So, let's see. His body's very strong. He's very strong in general. I like to get a trade skill because I like to think that, when you're going to play this game, there are going to be some periods of time where you're not just always questing and fighting, because combat's very dangerous. So there might be some times where you guys are just trash, and you need to kind of just hang back and work in town and do what you got to do then. So I'm going to look at some trade skills, and I got to consider what my guy's good at. So he's got very high perception, so he can be good at sewing if he wants to. Let's take a look. I mean, his intelligence is bad, so he's not much of a trade skillman. He'd probably be a physical labor kind of guy if he was going to do anything. So, let's consider important factors for this game. Survivalist type stuff is very important. So, I think we're going to go with some stuff like that. I actually did this on my main character, the one I'm going to be playing in campaign. I'm going to go with hunting, foraging, and cooking as 3 of my skills, because they're based off perception, and I feel like a warrior would be skilled with those things. So we're gonna go hunting. I have it at a base rating of 1, and I'll go over those. So, and then I have cooking and foraging. Again, survival skills extremely important in this setting. You have to work for everything you get. So, all these are based off perception. Now, here's where we're going to come back and take a look at that dice table. You notice the rank your skill level. So, on my attribute for perception, I have an effective skill level of 7 because of my attribute of 18 and 19, which gives me D8 plus D6. Now, taking a skill level in it, because I just got this skill specifically for these 3 here, this hunting, cooking, foraging, all of them are based off my perception. So my effective rank is 7 without anything else. However, for these 3 skills, my effective rank is now 8. That's my rating for it. As you can see, that would put my skill level to 8, as you just saw, which is the equivalent of having 21 in the attribute, which gives me 2d8. So for these skills specifically, I get 2d8 on all of them. So this is where your kind of specialization comes in from your base characteristics. And it's very hard to increase your base characteristics over the course of the game. You have to spend Saga points to do so. I believe it's Saga points equal to either your current rating or to the rating you're trying to achieve. I think I have the Saga here, so let me go ahead and spending Saga points as attribute. So it's +1 to the attribute to get things adjusted, which can be very good, because that affects not only the skills that you have skill slots in, but also anything else you roll for that's not a skill you already have. So it increases your dice rating on everything, but it's expensive to do so. So, I mean, whereas raising a skill rating is just as much as it costs to raise the ratings. Like 1 to 2 costs 2, 2 to 3 costs 3. So, I mean, you could argue it's more efficient to spend points to raise ratings and then specialize in certain things, as opposed to I'm just going to pump my willpower as high as I can. No, it's too expensive, man. So this is where this comes in. So these are my specialties within perception. While I roll D8 plus D6 for most anything related to perception, these 3 things I roll 2d8 because I've spent the skill slots to purchase the skill and have the skill. So that's where the skill level, rank level comes in addition to the attribute. So it's very powerful to be able to do that. So those are my three things, and those are very valuable. As I said, survival skills are very important in this setting because it is a very, while it's not a completely hopeless setting, it does depend on people depending on themselves. So what else would we do for this man? So we've got very important skills. We can also make money from doing that, selling furs and things like that. So that's kind of a skill, but not guaranteed. Let's see, what else would you be good at? I mean, we could take any kind of dex skill. We could take roguish skills to do things if we wanted to. But I don't see him as a very roguish individual. Let's see. Perception. Not a musician, I wouldn't say either. It's very tough to pick. Navigation, travel skills. So he does have a low charisma. He could be kind of a dick. So I'm actually going to go with, I am going to go some sneaky skills because he has a high dex. I'm going to go with pick locks and, oh, excuse me, I'm going to go with stealth and steal. I think. Yeah, I could do that. Well, I tell you what, let's say that pottery is a tradition for his clan that he's from. If he's like kind of an outside kind of guy, pottery. So that's perception based, and pottery is also, I believe, a skill that makes money. Let's go down to pottery. Yep. With this skill, you craft pots, jars, and decanters. They can be used by the character and his or her party, or crafted to sell for 7 bones. 7 bones being the lowest form of currency, but you can buy some food with it, so that's what's important. So he has pottery as a tradition passed down to him, and then we'll go with lifting. Or no, drinking. Drinking's good. Let's go drinking as a fun skill. Might impress someone. 2d8 because it's based off his body. Yes, based on his body. So he'll be able to drink somebody under the table, perhaps. So drinking. So those are the 5 skills we've picked. So these 4 are very useful. This one kind of fun. So that's set up. Now let's look at. So we filled in the skills. According to the character class, so we kind of did both here because our skills were the weapon skills and everything like that because you get those skills no matter what, and we bought skills with our skill slots. So those have been bought. Choose your languages based on your rate and intelligence attributes. I believe you get 2 fluent languages. Cawthon's the bar standard one that whatever race you're of has that. If you don't have anything else. If you don't have Cawthon, I suggest getting it, just to be safe. And then as far as languages, we'll take a quick look at language skills. Not going to spend too much time on that for fluid languages, because it's very much just each race has their own specific languages. All this is very in depth, and I one video for character generation will not do it justice. So please, work to purchase this or speak with this is a very good game from what I've seen. So I'm always going to try to promote on behalf of my boy Rogue. So race stuff. Let's say maybe this guy has had some dealings with the Mongru. So we'll give him Dumatos in order to speak with dwarfs. So we'll give him Dumatos, I believe is what it was. Yes. There's his fluent languages. Might have had dealings with the tribesmen there. They traded with them. Fill in your racial abilities, got those. Fill in your starting equipment found on your class, simply copy items into your packet. I'm not going to do too much of that because it is, I'll do the bone axe to kind of show off the bone axe. So the bone axe is 1 to hit. Damage for the bone axe, if we look at the warrior, is d8 plus d6. As I said, it explodes. And we get a +2 because we are at 18 strength. It's a durability weak, I believe. And it's a melee range weapon. So that kind of shows you the weapons there. And if we roll that sucker, we rolled horribly. We would have really wrecked that guy if we had done our job. So, back to the top here. So filled in some, configure starting money. You roll for the money. It depends on your character class. Some have more than others, but for you see for him, it's D4 bits are also bones. So D4, we're average. You don't get much to start with, and that's on purpose. It is a difficult world, as I have repeatedly said. And then character's religious beliefs, gods or otherwise. This does have a pretty solid impact on the game. So, gods can... There are certain roles you can make as far as if you're about to die that may kind of try to compel a god to save you. It's not likely, as with many things, but it can happen. And gods have an impact on gameplay, big time. So, they have, as with any kind of fantasy game, gods are very much legitimate in the setting. So we're looking at gods here for the human pantheon. It's got to be Anuc. So we're very much into goddess of hunters and winter. So Anuc would be our goddess. Symbol animal spirit. Let's see. So we're with Anuc. Our path would be, I would say, light. He's not a bad guy necessarily. This is a violent streak. Maybe shadow would be better then. Because dark is just like you're just evil as shit. Shadow's more gray. Special influence Anuc. Animal spirit. I believe these are your fates. If I remember correctly, I have to review that a bit more. No, fates are different from animal spirit. Your animality. But fates do have an impact on gameplay depending on what month it is. Like you can see here, if you select like the wolf, then you get +1 perception during nighttime when it's the months of frostfall. So keep in mind of that. Could impact the gameplay. Okay, we're not going to bother with that just yet. I'm just going to try to make sure we do a basic character generation for this one. But again, those are very important, so take those seriously. Fill in your spells. No spells for us. Ghost Saga points and character traits. Okay, here's the fun part. So for Ghost Saga points... Saga points are essentially what you use to kind of purchase things. So you can use these to upgrade certain stats. For example, you can get more hit points or frenzy and things like that. Also, we should calculate health because health is important. So let's go ahead and calculate our health while I've got that in my brain. D6 plus body for human. Our body is 18. That's a good start point. That's a decent roll. So 22, but if you remember correctly, we have another hit point adjustment for our body per the dice table, or per the attribute table for body of +4. So we actually get 4 more. We're at 26. 26 is very good before anything else. So Now let's look at the Ghost Saga. So we're gonna look at character traits. Traits here kind of give your character a bit of uniqueness, a few detriments and positives. So you start with 5 Saga points in the beginning. They're only available during character creation, Ghost Saga, because it kind of go poof like a ghost, as he writes there. If you don't use them prior to the game starting. You can have no more than 6 traits, that is positive and negative traits. You have flaws and values. So we're going to look at flaws. I'm not going to go too deep into these. I don't want to make this crazy, but we can find some interesting stuff. Let's say he's aggressive. So he's aggressive. This would give us... So this gives you more Saga points, but obviously puts some negatives into your behavior that you got to pan out with. So he's an aggressive type. He's very much, oh, let's get this done. So there is a plus side to this. You get bonuses to your initiative when you're in aggressive stance, but you decrease your charisma by 1 point. So already low charisma, getting even lower. I don't think it's dropped out of rank 2 just yet, if I remember correctly. No, we're not quite out of rank 2, but we're getting there. And then a +1 to initiative in violent situations. We just have to remember to invoke that. So that gives us 9 Saga points. Obviously, everybody starts with 5, and then you expand on that. As the head said there, you start with 5, and then anything you choose here kind of expands. So you can kind of make some big changes to your character doing this. So we picked aggressive. Now, let's look at a value to pick that is useful. So I would say... let's do... Born Again Hard. It's got to be tough. Let's do Born Again Hard and give him a bonus to his +2 bonus to his body attribute. I think it leaves us 1 Saga point left. This is a way to kind of add some flavor to your character, give him a few more bonuses. So +2 to body attribute. Now I believe if the body attribute changes, and again, if Rogue could comment on it afterwards, let me know. If the body attribute changes, then the way it impacts your health would as well. That'd be my expectation. So if we're looking at not the dice table, looking at stats table, body just bumped to 20. That should give me 3 toughness and a 15 body save, as well as a 6 hit point adjustment from 18, which was +4, so 2 more hit points, 28. I have 1 Saga point left. My body is 20. That bumps my rank up to rank 8. And I think that makes my drinking better, actually, which is outstanding. Body save 15, toughness of 3. I should have 28 hit points. And then if we look at the dice table, with a 20, it is a 2d8 now for the body. Which would mean that for drinking, because I believe drinking is body-based, I've become a better alcoholic. Yes. That is in... see where drinking is. Drinking is body. So drinking. Looking at the dice table. Drinking is effective rank 9, D10 plus D8 for drinking, which is outrageous. Plus D8. Let's see how well I can drink. Not bad. Not bad at drinking. Alright, so that's kind of an idea for traits, and again, you have up to 6 of them, so you can really play with that, but just remember, for each time whatever you're trying to get for the values, or if you're just trying to get points to spend on you know, skills to up them for the beginning, or however you want to play it. Just keep in mind that, you know, taking flaws, they're flaws. They're things you got to play out and kind of stick to. Disposition tables, I'm not going to do that. You could do 2 random dispositions if you kind of want some role play. Guidelines, I feel like that anybody can kind of come up with their own disposition for their character. They have an idea how they're going to behave. It's probably going to be very aggressive and straightforward, also based on my flaw. Physical beauty. So physical beauty can have an impact on the way people interact with you. Namely, if they find you attractive or not. So let's see about rolling physical beauty. So we can roll up to 3 times and take the highest. It's 2d10. So wow, that's a beautiful boy. 16 is attractive. +1 to certain social roles like seduction. Too bad he's awful at talking to people. But we'll keep it in mind. Could come into play. Maybe he's just that guy. God, I wish I'd rolled that in somebody else. That's beautiful, though. Literally. So we've rolled that physical beauty. Alter any stats if anything was changed. Add 2 points to each action category in Frenzy. So everybody starts with 2 Frenzy and has 2 points for any kind of action point category. This kind of determines how many attacks you could make based on Frenzy, which you kind of use Frenzy to make additional attacks. Sometimes you use Frenzy to trigger certain skills, which, you know, can be very cool skills, like for the Warrior, to kind of get an idea of a fun Frenzy skill for him. Let's see. I know he's got a Frenzy one. Yep. Battle Edge. Once per combat, the warrior may burn 1 point of Frenzy to gain an edge and roll 2d20 to attack as opposed to 1, and they can choose the best roll. So that's pretty massive, because normally you roll and there's really not, I mean, you can roll, you can have modifiers, you can try to create ideal conditions, but, you know, there's not a whole lot of stuff that gives you a reroll. But, being able to roll 2d20 and take the higher, that's big. That could get, because that could be a crit, right? I mean, you could roll, you could do, like, oh man, I missed, I could reroll into a nat 20 and just demolish the guy. So, Battle Edge is very powerful. You need Frenzy to do stuff like that. You also use Frenzy to attack multiple times. So that's, Frenzy is a very powerful mechanic as well in this. So you start with base 2 Frenzy and base 2 attacks and everything. Fill in ranks, level, and dice for your characters. We've been doing that. We configured hit points. It's kind of an end thing. So it did apply as I expected. If you apply hit points at the end, then you apply your max differently at the end. Roll a random nickname. Don't got to do that. Urgath. Urgath the Undying. He's a tough man. He is a warrior. He is Terran. This is a practice. And then we have 1 Saga point left. So you have Saga spends you can choose from if you have stuff like that left over. As you can see here, you can raise, this is how you can spend it. Hit points 1 to 1, skill rating as rating, so we can't really raise any of that. We could raise mana, or shoot, we don't have anything that uses it. We could raise Frenzy Pool, which is what I'm going to do. Frenzy is extremely valuable. It is a resource that does not replenish. You have to pay to get more of it. But Frenzy can be the difference between living or dying, because there might be a time when you want to pop that Frenzy and attack a guy twice to put him in a trash can, but you can't because you burned all your Frenzy, so make sure you save that. And then of course, I'd get some sick character art, as I always do, to put for this guy. But, you know, other than filling out the rest of his equipment, this guy pretty much done. So it's, as you can see, it's not too difficult to make a character here. It does appear initially intimidating because you have to plug in the dice. I remember looking at the first one like, what am I doing? But you know, when you make a couple characters, you do see how easy it is to kind of put them together mechanically, and then you can expand on the roleplay aspect of it. And again, I made this character. Obviously, I powerhoused them a bit with just going complete dum-dum on charisma and intelligence. You could always do something more balanced or something weird. This is very much a setting and system that encourages you to do unorthodox builds, because they're, with open skill slot choices, like for the warrior, I could have gone so many different ways with this guy. Like you have 4 skill slots to choose from for character skills. So I mean, you could easily choose to do something else with those 4 skill slots. I mean, he could be a tradesman who's a warrior. I mean, you can do a number of things. So this is very much a system that encourages unorthodox builds and having different backgrounds and doing different things. As you can see, there's tons and tons of options here with these characters, and there will be more to come based on what I'm hearing from Rogue. So if this is a system that interests you, I definitely recommend checking it out. I believe it's on Drive-Thru RPG under Demon's Gate. You can also try to get in contact with us directly, and we'll be happy to have Rogue point you in the right direction. But I'm really looking forward to playing this game. I've been playing an offshoot of it, which I'll be doing a character generation video of for that as well, called Chaos 6010. It's also developed by Rogue. So again, very excited for this game. And I hope you enjoyed that character generation tutorial. If you have any questions or want me to kind of come up with any builds for you, if you're already interested in playing, be happy to do so. Again, I'm always ready to do character generation. It's my thing here. So, again, this is Ghost. I want to thank you all for joining me tonight, and I want to wish you a pleasant rest of your night. Take care.